Cubs coming off a 3-3 homestand. Jay's still trying to hang around the American League wildcard race. This team hits a lot of home runs, JD.
Yeah, they do. They're 5th in the American League in runs scored. They are 2nd in long balls, a very home run dependent ball club. Two guys in the middle of the order that really have to focus on that. The former Red, he's become a 30-plus home run guy year in and year out. Jose Bautista has blossomed into the best, perhaps the best hitter in the American League over the last 4 or 5 years. These guys are in 6th and 7th in the American League in home runs. Bautista with 31 and Encarnacion with 30.
And Bautista he's hit in his last 11 in a row, including 7 home runs. So it'll be Jacob Turner facing Toronto for the first time in his career.
He's made 2 starts with the Cubs. First time in Cincinnati, he struggled a little bit. Last time he threw the ball very well. 6 1/3, 5 hits, allowed just 1 run, punched out 7 against just 1 walk. That was on September 1st against the Brewers. So a full week of rest. He should be ready to go here tonight.
23-year-old right-hander Marcus Stroman will go for the Blue Jays.
Jays' first-round pick in 2012 did not take this kid long to get to the big leagues. In 10 starts, 6-2 here in his home ballpark with an ERA of 2.97.
We will be featuring some great music from Toronto and Canada tonight as we get you set for Cubs baseball coming up. Left. They play 8 against 2 teams ahead of them in that race at New York and 4 here against the Mariners the final week of the season. They'll try to get to October for the first time since 1993.
On the way, a swing and a belt. Left field, way back. Blue Jays win it. The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run in the 9th inning, and the Blue Jays have repeated as world.
Gorgeous night. Roof is open here on the shores of Lake Ontario. And here are the Cubs 1 through 9, brought to you by Mazda and the 2014 Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. Chris Coughlin in his 500th Major League game tonight. Javier Baez at short. Luis Valbuena spent some time with the Jays a couple of spring trainings ago. Jorge Soler will clean up in right. Wellington Castillo, the catcher. Mike Alt had his best game as a Cub yesterday. Alcantara is in center. Watkins at second. And Chris Valleca will play third and hit ninth.
And we look at the Blue Jays defensively this evening. Kevin Pillar, Anthony Gose, Jose Bautista left center, right. Big arm on Bautista out there in right field. Valencia and Reyes on the left side of the infield. Ryan Goins very sure-handed at second base. Adam Lind, the big first sacker. And the catcher, you're familiar with him, former Cub Dioner Navarro. He's behind the plate tonight for 23-year-old right-hander Marcus Stroman. And one thing you notice immediately about Stroman is he's not a very big guy. He's just 5'9". But he's got a big arm, mid-90s fastball, and he's used it well. 9-5 with a 3.83 earned run average. 17 starts. He's also worked 5 times out of the Blue Jay bullpen.
So for the first time in 6 seasons, the Cubs and the Jays meeting up, and we are underway. Ball 1. A couple of 23-year-old right-handers matching up tonight. Oh, that ball deflect, I think, off the glove of Stroman and right to Reyes. And the throw to first is in time. I think Stroman is all right. And he just alerted his dugout. No need to come out. That ball was scalded by Coughlin.
Wow. Talk about an ambush. Right back up the middle. Ironic, we were talking to Ricky Renteria before the game today about defensive shifts and guys playing up the middle, and he was commenting all the videos he's watching. Very few pitchers finish in a good fielding position. And Stroman lucky not to take that one off the chin.
So one very loud out, and here's Javier Baez, who has really been scuffling here lately. Last 14 games, 6 out of 58. With 4 walks and 27 strikeouts. The Cubs took extra hitting today. One of the big things was just some guys taking some ground balls on the artificial turf. This is a very unfamiliar situation for the Chicago Cubs. The last time they played on the fake stuff was on the Toronto-Tampa Bay trip in 2008 under Lou Piniella.
Yeah, typically infielders will come out early and take some ground balls just to get used to the pace on the turf, or try to get used to it. I don't know that you can. It's hard to duplicate, you know, taking fungos, what you're going to see at real game speed. But so and this turf is not in the best of shape either. There's a lot of seams out there, so you're going to see some funky bounces in this series. Infielders will be able to play a little bit deeper because of the pace.
And on the hands of Baez, and he fouls back. 2 balls, 2 strikes on the rookie shortstop. I didn't ask Javi. Looks like he's got his rubber spikes on. Talking to most guys, they were going to stick with what they know best on grass, and that is the metal spikes, as Baez swings and misses and strikes out now for the 11th time in his last 4 games.
Well, this kid is got electric stuff. We've seen the mid-90s fastball. Check out this breaking ball. It just disappears. That's an 85-mile-an-hour curveball. That's hard at some guys. Sliders. Cut his fastball. Throw a changeup once in a great while, but fastball, cutter, slider, curve mostly.
Fastball strike on Luis Valbuena. He's got his metal spikes on. He said basically that's how he feels most comfortable when he's in the batter's box. But I think it'll be trial and error. And I think a lot of guys will wake up tomorrow with a little more soreness than they're used to. That's bounced foul to first. Back in your day, there were a lot of National League ballparks that had AstroTurf.
Yeah, and a lot of guys used to change their shoes. Some guys would wear turf shoes out on the field. and they'd wear spikes to bat because they wanted the traction in the batter's box and also when they ran the bases.
Ground ball to second. Goins will make the play. And the Cubs go down quietly in the top of the first. Jacob Turner to the mound when we come back. His second tour as their manager, switch hitting Jose Reyes will start it. We talked about Bautista and Encarnacion in the open. Adam Lind has been really good when healthy this season. Diana Navarro had his career year last year, turned that into a 2-year contract here with Toronto. Danny Valencia is a third. Kevin Pillar in left. Ryan Goins will play second, and Anthony Gose in center.
And let's check out the Cubs defensively. Cogden left, Alcantara center, Soler right. Blake Baez, Watkins, Alt third to first, Wellington Castillo behind the plate, and Jacob Turner is the starting pitcher tonight. He's 5-8 with a 5.54 ERA, 14 starts. He's also made 10 relief appearances. He's pitched 4 times for the Cubs, twice out of the pen, twice as a starter, and was really good last time out. Good fastball, slider, and used his changeup effectively. Established that early, and that was a real good weapon for him last time out against the Brewers.
And the first pitch to Reyes is wide for ball 1. Reyes signed through 2017, a 6-year contract he inked with the Miami Marlins. Only spent 1 year there before that big blockbuster trade to the Jays prior to 2013. Valleca way in at third. And on the 2-0 pitch, this is the outside corner. 3-0 on the leadoff hitter. The Jays hit home runs. They don't strike out a ton, which is interesting. They will take their walks. And 3-1. Are they going to make it? I would say doubtful. They only have 20 games to go. But as Reyes hits a ground ball to Old, backhanded, and Turner makes the play. Not a great toss by Old. Turner able to find the bag and accept the throw in front of the speedy Reyes.
Yeah, well, you'd rather have that toss high as opposed to low down below the waist, but this is a little bit higher than you would prefer. Turner able to stretch, get it, and still get the base. You got to really bust it over there with Reyes going down the line. Nice athletic play by Jacob Turner. Keep a speedy man off the bases. Yeah, the Jays are going to need to do something big. I don't know, 15-5 or something like that.
Well, they've got 4 at New York next week. The Yankees are half a game ahead of them. They don't play Cleveland. Cleveland ahead of them. They don't play Detroit. They do play Seattle 4 times in the final week. So almost half their games against clubs that are ahead of them, but it kind of goes without saying they need to have a good week this week just to give themselves an opportunity. There's John Gibbons. They actually have spent 48 days in first place. Every day from May 21st through July 4th. They had a big month of May, 21-9. But they had an awful August. 9-17, only hit 18 home runs as a team. 2-1 to Bautista is off the plate in. 3-1.
Yeah, they were dead last in the American League in runs scored in August, and they had the 13th. They were 13th in the American League in ERA in August, so they didn't do anything well that month.
Ball 4, and Bautista is the first base runner.
Well, Bautista has walked as much as he struck out this year. Actually, he's walked one more time than punch-outs now. Well, Turner has a 1.59 whip, OPS against of 830. Those are both really highs. Not a lot of ground balls. Strikeout rate below league average, but he's also kept the walks down.
Encarnacion, the DH, 30 home runs this year, and a big swing and a miss on a fastball at 93. The story of Bautista and Encarnacion is similar. I think more drastic in Bautista's case. He bounced around a lot before coming to Toronto. Encarnacion is a Red, 05 to 09 with a 793 OPS, but came here in the Scott Rowland deal. As that one gets past Castillo and allows Bautista to advance to second.
I think that's nasty action.
Two-time All-Star now with the Blue Jays for Encarnacion with an OPS of 864. So this has been a good move for him.
Yeah, and I think, you know, he was starting to come into his own in Cincinnati. I don't think people in Cincinnati are surprised that he's turned into, you know, a real good offensive player and a home run hitter. He had some defensive issues in Cincinnati, so they were willing to move on from him.
There goes Bautista to third. The throw there is in time. They got him. They went for the headfirst slide, and Castillo nailed him.
Turner never really checked him, so Bautista thought he could get a real nice jump and get third base.
They call him safe?
I don't know.
Why is he still on the bag?
I don't know. He's out.
They called him out. He's standing there waiting for his manager. Okay.
Oh, and Encarnacion's out of the box. So, wow, that's managers are supposed to get out there in a timely manner if they want to challenge. That was interesting that Gibbons waited as long as he did. And that was an issue here recently with Joe Madden and the Rays in town.
And there's Mike Estabrook over there at third. Sean Barber is back at the plate. The crew chief is Jerry Lane. Hunter Wendelstedt is the second baseman, or second base umpire rather, and they will not challenge.
Bautista trying to force the action a little bit with a good RBI man in the batter's box. Probably like a mulligan.
So 2-1 the count on Encarnacion. Here's the pitch. It's a strike. Turner quickly coming back. Ground ball to third. That's Valleca. And that's the first. A walk, no runs. After an inning, we are scoreless. Log on to WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner and connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and info while watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape, pools, patio sets, play sets, hot tubs, and more. It's like they're watching from the hotel. Here we go. Jorge Soler against Marcus Stroman here in the second. 10th major league game for Soler. We might see him as a DH in this series. Ricky's just going to kind of reassess after he plays 9 innings on the turf. And that ball lined into center for a base hit. So now he's got hits in 9 of his first 10 major league games.
He's got a great approach at the plate. He's disciplined, he's patient, but when he decides to turn it loose, he lets it fly. He's not feeling for the baseball. He's going ahead and letting it eat, as they say.
Now Castillo, the catcher. He and Deanna Navarro were the Cubs catching core last year. Sure, some pleasantries were exchanged. Deanna's quite a character, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. He really enjoyed him last year. Had some big moments, including a 3-home-run game.
Stroman's 0-1, and it's inside on a fastball.
Stroman changed the grip on his fastball a little bit. His two-seamer. He's getting good action, sink, and run. He's got a lot of ground balls with that pitch.
That's a strike on the outside. He's from Medford, New York. Went to Duke University. 22nd overall pick in 2012.
So his whip, his OPS against better than league average. He's running a fairly high ground ball rate and just right at league average in terms of strikeout percentage, and better than league average with the walks. There's that ground ball I was talking about.
Goins will tag Soler, and that's a pretty easy double play. Have to take another look at it, but it looked like Jorge basically ran right into that out. So 2 outs in the inning, and a lot of guys told in that spot just to put on the brakes.
Yeah, you can't run into a tag in that situation. You see it here, and perhaps he thought he could beat it, but he couldn't. So he should have slammed on the brakes and forced Goin to run him down, and maybe they would have had to settle for just 1.
Mike Alt reached base all 4 times yesterday against the Pirates. A career high 3 for 3. Walked, knocked in a run, and could not hold up on his swing. And it's 1-1. Talked to Anthony Rizzo today. Took some swings, took some ground balls. That's good. He's feeling a lot better, and he's hoping to be back maybe within the next week. Now, it's easy for him to say. He will not have the final decision on that, and the Cubs will be extra cautious in making sure that back is 100% before he does return. But he's getting a little anxious to get back.
Yeah. It's a chance to play a few games before the end of the season, and Mike Alt will tell him, hey, big fella, you had a nice year. Take your time. Mike Alt will lose at bats if Anthony Rizzo comes back.
Straight through call, number 2 for Stroman. After 8.5, we're still scoreless. guests for corporate gatherings, family reunions, and bachelor or bachelorette parties. Individual and group tickets are available for all games. For more details, go to WrigleyvilleRooftops.com or call 773-248-ROOF.
There's a rooftop for you.
I might go up in that thing tomorrow.
I think you should.
Yeah, the CN Tower.
I think you should.
You want to go?
The camera? I think I'll just, I enjoyed wandering the streets today, and I'll probably do that again tomorrow. Beautiful city. Great city.
Adam Lind takes a strike. It's 1-1. Yeah, I feel like we're not here long enough. So much to see.
Yeah, really, great architecture. Got the lake.
Ground ball sharply hit, and the Rockies knocked it down, but the ball then dribbled away from him. That'll be a hit for Lind. And that's the first one for the Jays.
Well, it looked like he was going to be able to make a play on this ball, maybe hit a seam, take a funky hop, and get the pace on the turf. It's going to be a bit of a challenge for the Cub infielders.
Ooh, they're going to give him an error. Okay. You cool with that?
I am.
Okay.
I would have been cool with the hit too. I'm good. I'm glad I wasn't forced to make a decision. My wife will tell you when it comes to making decisions, I'm the last guy you want to ask. I don't know. Sounds good to me. Let's just get a pizza.
Yeah. Switch hitter Deoner Navarro. 89 games with the Cubs last year, 300 batting average, 13 homers. As I said, turned that into a 2-year contract with the Blue Jays.
As switch hitter, he's pretty much identical. The numbers from each side of the plate in terms of the rate, the batting average, on base slugging, very similar. Having another nice year. Ooh. Maybe a little low.
Hitters count here for Navarro. And the pitch right on the outside for a strike. 2-1.
There you go. 286 right-handed, 281 left-handed. OPS 734, 735.
The 10th matchup all time between these two teams. As that ball is lobbed into the right field corner. Soler will pick it up. Lind will make third. It's a long single for Navarro, and the Blue Jays have it cooking here. An error and a base hit, and they have him at the corners with nobody out.
Had to find the strike zone. Navarro sitting fastball, obviously, and turned on it. No chance to make a play on this one. And Soler has to hustle to make sure it doesn't go all the way to the wall.
It'll bring up Danny Valencia, the third baseman. Brett Laurie, with a left oblique strain, had his season end in early August. And a pitch. And a breaking ball misses in. The Cubs will give up the first run for a chance at a double play here. Try to limit the damage. Valencia has bounced around since 2010. Twins, Red Sox, Orioles, Royals, and now the Blue Jays. So he's made quite a tour of the American League. Turner ready. Here's a pitch. Fouled into center, a base hit, and the Jays get the first run of the night as Lind will trot home. It's 1-0.
It's a cracked bat. Good enough for an RBI single for Valencia. First blood drawn by the Blue Jays. And towards the label.
Yeah, that's one you feel like you made a pitch if you're Turner. You got in just a little bit. Didn't hit it hard, but hard enough. And now it's Kevin Pillar.
Could have got that ball down around the knees. Maybe he gets his ground ball to short for 2.
First and second now. And that's inside. Melky Cabrera had his season end last Friday at Fenway Park. A fractured right pinky finger.
So Pillar will get a chance to play. Anthony Gose will see a lot of playing time the rest of the way.
Deep drive to left. Coglin's back on it to the warning track. He leaps and he makes a catch right near the out-of-town board, and the runners will have to retreat. So the warning track here is interesting. It's not dirt. It's still carpet. It's just a different color. So it's a little tricky, I think, for outfielders, especially guys who aren't used to playing on the turf, to kind of figure out where they are. And you saw Coghlan take a look back before he made the leap.
Yeah, he might have been able to take one more step, but not exactly sure where he was on the field and where the wall was. A nice running catch by Coghlan, and at this turn of events, Chris Bosio is going to come out and make a suggestion or two for his young right-hander.
And while he does, we don't see the Blue Jays a whole lot, as I mentioned. I really like the fact they brought back their vintage uniform look in 2012. They kind of got away from it. But this is what you think of when you think of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah,
I like that double.
What did they have going?
Well, they had kind of a different shade of blue. More of a modern Blue Jay.
Yeah,
but I like that the lettering. That's very Toronto Blue Jays. The double lines. Started out 1977. It was an American League expansion team with the Seattle Mariners. Ryan Goins takes a strike.
And like most expansion teams, it was a rough go for them early on.
2 world championships, 92, 93. Back to back.
Beautiful night here in Toronto. You see the banners. Mid-80s, they really turned it on to Dave Stieb in that group. AL East champs again in 89.
Hey, it's 20 degrees.
That's a 68. 68 Fahrenheit.
Bounced out in front of the plate. '93, Joe Carter, the biggest home run in franchise history. The late Hall of Fame announcer Tom Cheek, you heard it as we went to break right before the first pitch. Touch them all, Joe.
Hopping around.
2-1 the count. Here's a pitch. Swing and a miss.
Well, maybe one of the suggestions from Bosio was let's use that changeup a little bit more. That club, man. Olerud, Alomar, Molitor, Ricky Henderson. Tough lineup to pitch to.
It's fouled out of play. They've only retired one number. Roberto Alomar.
And they've got this Ring of Honor here in the ballpark, but apparently he's the only uniform number they've retired.
Double play ball. Watkins Not a great flip. Baez, though. Nice adjustment from the catcher. Goins runs well. We're going to see Ricky Renteria here.
I thought they were going to get him there. It's Jerry Lane, the first base umpire, with the call. And again, I think the pace that ball got into the midsection of Watkins upset the timing of the flip there at second base.
Looked like he's out. Wow. At first look, he looked more out than that one. Maybe Goins got there faster on the second replay. Here comes Ricky. This look, I thought he was out. I think the ball's in the mid, right?
Well, yeah. Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, I'm with you. I think more out than safe. I don't know if there's enough to overturn it. But there's what I'm talking about. That ball getting in on Watkins a little bit, and that kind of upset the timing. The flip to Baez was a little offline, and Javi did a real nice job making an adjustment and a strong throw. And he continues to make all the plays out there at shortstop. He's looked very good.
So Ricky has challenged, I think, for the first time in a bit. Can't remember the last Cubs challenge on replay.
Yeah, you got to be careful using your challenges here because international rates apply. Just, they talk about the ball in the back of the mitt. Well,
they call him out. So a good challenge, and the inning is over, and they keep them to one unearned run.
Afternoon here at Wrigley Field. He'll have one or maybe two more shots at breaking it.
On this date, 1985, Pete Rose tying Ty Cobb with hit number 4,191. That Wrigley 100 moment brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares only online at southwestairlines.com. Cubs batting in the third, and a strike called on Alcantara. An unearned run off Jacob Turner, giving the Blue Jays the lead. I assume Arizmendi met one of his heroes, Jose Reyes, in person tonight around the batting cage. I guess they did talk on the phone before, but had not officially met prior to tonight. And he went around. Ooh. And when you think about Alcantara and who he kind of reminds you of, switch hitter, middle infielder by trade, good speed. Reyes, Rollins, those are guys who immediately come to mind, and those are guys he grew up rooting for. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Navarro had it get past him as he fires to Lynn.
No, Pete Rose wasn't even going to play that day. You see Pete at the top of the career hits list. Cobb, Aaron, Musial, Speaker, and Jeter rounding out the top 6.
No, it's
Derek Jeter. Number 2, Jeter. But Pete wasn't going to play. Steve Trout was supposed to pitch that day. Steve Trout got hurt in a biking or something, so he didn't make the start. Reggie Patterson did, so Pete inserted himself into the lineup.
1 strike on Watkins. That just missed the outside.
And now you know the rest of the story.
Here's a 1-1. 2 balls and a strike. Waleka next in the 9 spot. We have an intimate gathering tonight here in Toronto. Roof open. Temps in the mid to upper 60s. All 3 of these games here will be under the lights. I'm guessing at least one of them will be under the roof as well. Might get some rain on Wednesday. But I like this park a lot better when the roof's open.
Yeah,
I think most people here would agree. Although I like it closed when it's raining. This was one of the last all-purpose, but modern.
Yeah, and when did the
89?
89, yeah.
Mid-season, I think they moved in here.
Look at this play.
Stroman gets Watkins. Well, we've heard that he's a terrific athlete. He's got great speed, and what an acrobatic play from the mound that was.
Well, they had the first pitch here today from a group from Cirque du Soleil. Maybe Stroman will join them after the little spin move coming back to get the ball. Didn't need the jump throw. That was just to kind of polish it up a little bit to have some fun. Pretty slick. Most guys, when you fall off one way and the ball's hit behind you, you just let it go. You let the infielder come and get it.
We were having an off-air conversation before the game about pitchers and fielding and how guys aren't quite as ready as they used to be after they let go of the pitch.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of pitching coaches about it over the years, and they say, well, the one thing they tell their guys is, we prefer you to finish square to home plate, ready to field your position. That's the old adage you're taught as a kid. Once you turn the ball loose, you're no longer a pitcher. Now you're an infielder. But they don't want pitchers sacrificing their mechanics or how they finish their delivery just to get into a fielding position. And then the point Ricky was making is, well, yeah, I get that. But still, once you follow through, if you turn towards first base or third base or wherever, still make some effort to turn around and get into a better fielding position. He said he just doesn't see it happen very often.
One and 2 to Waleka. Boy, is that a nice benefit when your pitcher can field his position. Like we just saw Stroman do.
Especially if you're a ground ball guy, that Stroman is proving to be.
Nasty breaking ball as he gets Waleka. 1-0 Toronto in the 3rd. Chris Miles covers the Cubs beat for the Daily Herald. Anthony Gose takes a strike from Jacob Turner. He is a final starter to get his first plate appearance, playing center. Colby Rasmus no longer playing every day. He'll be a free agent after this season, so they're taking a look at some other guys in the outfield. He came over 2010 in that three-team deal that involved Roy Oswalt from the Astros to the Phillies. Gose went from the Phillies to the Jays. He was late.
The speed guy. Got a couple of 70-plus stolen base seasons in the minor leagues. 15 steals, 4 times caught with the Blue Jays so far this year.
Changeup is hit high and deep the other way. Coghlan reaches up and snags it, as Alcantara was in the area as well. 2 nice grabs out there by Coghlan in the gap.
Yeah, Gose showing some pretty good power the other way. Bid for extra bases, but Coghlan able to run it down. Jays have gotten some pretty good whacks at Jacob Turner here so far, but he's managed to allow just the 1 run.
Strike called on Reyes. DL time in April, hamstring tightness. He actually was injured on opening day, missed 16 games. Diving stop, Maleka. He's been diving all over the place this last week or so, hasn't he, over there at third? Well, if he were a hockey player, he'd have a bad reputation as a diver.
Cubs standing on his head.
As Cubs fans, don't forget to check out Len and JD's baseball blog at WGNTV.com. Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent, serving the area for 36 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. Breaking ball to Bautista for a strike. It's a curveball. Bautista walked in the first, reached second on a wild pitch, caught stealing as he tried to grab third base.
Bautista from the Dominican Republic, but he played college ball in Florida. 20th round pick of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, 04 to 08, Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Pittsburgh. Kind of the journeyman utility guy. He was traded here for,
I just read it earlier today.
Please.
Oh yeah,
catcher Robinson Diaz.
Yeah, it's
and he's just become an all-world offensive player.
You read his profile and what he went through. You said, well, that's not the guy who becomes a perennial all-star with 50 home run potential. Not potential.
He's actually done it. And he has led the majors twice in home runs. He's been an all-star every year since 2010. And he's red hot right now. He's got 7 homers during the current 11-game hitting streak.
So the Pirates had him. They didn't protect him, lost him in the Rule 5 draft. Got him back. He played for 4 different big league clubs in 1 year, sparingly. And they did, between that, there was a lack of development because of all the bouncing around he did suffer a couple of injuries. And there were moments in Pittsburgh where the potential was, you kind of saw it a little bit, but nothing like what he's done here in Toronto. Really a great story.
Joey Bats. I suppose that whole story is a bit passé by now, but
yeah, it's
we haven't seen
new
him
for us. Yeah,
haven't seen him since he was a Pirate. And he went. Ball gets away. Castillo will pick it up. That will end the inning. Turner getting some help from his defense here in the third. 1-0 Toronto. JD, take it away.
Well,
I'll let you handle this one.
Cirque du Soleil is in town. Check this out. Their first pitch. That's kind of a Dr. Seuss meets the Wizard of Oz feel to it all, and ultimately well delivered. The accordion people, I don't know what that guy is, but I want to hang out with them.
Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Stroman to Coughlin as we get the fourth underway. Cutter misses inside, so let's see. We could. I'm told there's a great bike path on the water. You could get you could take a boat ride if you'd like. The CN Tower, the Hockey Hall of Fame. Got to do that. Or a little later in the month, they could go see preseason NHL game.
Leafs exhibition.
Yeah.
So there is a kind of a kinship here between Chicago and Toronto with the long-suffering Cub fan and the long-suffering Maple Leaf fan, right?
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Some passionate fan bases. And dealing with frustration for a long time.
I'm not going to get into the esoteric question of why they're not the Maple Leaves. Because they're the Leafs.
They're the Leafs.
Here's a 2-2. Coughlin. It's a chopper to second. Goins will make the play. The Reds, Dodgers, and Cardinals will make up the opponents for the final homestand of the regular season next week. Don't miss your chance to come out and see a game at beautiful Wrigley Field. Tickets and a variety of levels are available for every game during that final homestand. To purchase your seats, visit Cubs.com. Here's Baez.
Well, you may not want to get into it, but you brought it up, so.
Got the Google machine.
You get the Google machine.
.ca.
Maple Leafs, as it refers to an organization or sports franchise, is considered a proper noun and not bound by normal rules of grammar.
I know.
How about that?
Valencia gets Baez. Where did the Blue Jays start in terms of their home ballpark? It was all purpose. Exhibition Stadium. And if you look off to the right, there was nothing but nothing behind the wall out there. Just kind of kept going, and the field was crowned. You can kind of see the faded football numbers out there in right field. Made for some interesting bounces.
Is that where the Argonauts played?
Yeah, and then they moved in here when they built this place. Blue Jays actually played the Mets a couple of exhibition games in Montreal to end the spring training and drew over 50,000. They're going to do it again next year. I think they're playing the Reds. Pilar in left. Oh, he's getting good. Makes the catch, and Stroman only broken a sweat so far. Two more here in Toronto, then an off day in Pittsburgh. Pirates next weekend at PNC. And then a long homestand against the Reds, the Dodgers, and the Cardinals. Ford, go further in any one of Ford's many fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out America's freshest lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Farther below, Lake Ontario takes in what Lake Erie can send her. Right, Gordon Lightfoot,
Edmund Fitzgerald.
That wasn't that song. It just when I see shots of the lake, it's what I think of. Any of the Great Lakes. It was a Bare Naked Ladies. 1-1 on Encarnacion. Here's the pitch. Line shot, top spin, off the wall. Encarnacion's got a single. Boy, he got on top of that liner, and that's why it didn't get on out of here, and he ends up with one base out of it.
Yeah, I didn't see him out of the box. This is a rocket. A little hesitation. He's not running very well either. Yeah, he must be favoring something. And then the ball got out there so quickly and well defended here by Alcantara, coming over to provide a little support for Coghlan. It's basically Encarnacion's playing a little game of, here, try this one, Coghlan. You made two real good plays out there. See if you can run this down.
He had a sprained right quad, so yeah, was on the DL here in the second half. Short lead over there at first as Adam Lind puts the ball one.
You know, with that in mind, it might make sense to play Mike Alt behind Encarnacion there at first base.
One and one.
challenge fastball right through the heart of the strike zone.
Here it is. Off the end of the bat as he pulls it into right for a base hit. Soler on the bounce will throw to third, and it's offline. So Encarnacion goes first to third. The ball almost bounced over Soler, but he's got a pretty wide wingspan.
Yeah, that's the other part of it too. That we talked about the infielders and the pace of the ball on the turf. The outfielders got to be careful for the big high bounces. It's off a very strong throw offline. Encarnacion was going to beat it anyway. So Encarnacion running a little bit better there, and I think he was bound and determined to go first to third to make up for only getting a single on that ball off the wall to left, despite the bad wheel.
Luis Rivera, their third base coach, Tim Leeper, is over at first. Navarro with runners at first and third. Nobody out. We got an unearned tally in the second. Yeah, that was certainly one of the highlights of last year, wouldn't you say? You referenced Navarro hitting 3 homers in a game against the White Sox.
Yeah, he had a lot of really good moments. Big pinch hit, home runs.
First Cub switch hitter to ever hit 3 in a game. First Cubs catcher to hit 3 in a game since George Mitterwald in 1974. Jake Arrieta, Mark Burley. Contrasting styles tomorrow night. Kyle Hendricks, Drew Hutchison on Wednesday. Fly ball to deep center. Alcantara makes the catch. That'll be a sac fly for Navarro as Encarnacion scores, and it's 2-0 Toronto. Hey, right now is a great time to plan for your 2015 Cubs spring training experience. Go to Cubs.com/Mesa. Place a deposit on season tickets and secure the best seats available. Individual spring training tickets go on sale in January. Be sure to visit Cubs.com/Mesa for the latest updates. Valencia knocked home their first run. It was single in the second. He takes a strike.
A good slider there to get started. One of the better breaking balls he's thrown tonight.
That's a ball on a fastball, 1-1. The schedule is out for next year.
Yes.
Cubs will play the American League Central, including 6 against the White Sox.
Open at home with the Cardinals.
Line to Watkins, double play. So they get Lind. The Blue Jays get 1. It's 2-0 after 4. 6th of April against the St. Louis Cardinals at 1:20. World Series could possibly end in November. Miguel Cabrera dealing with an ankle issue, but he'll keep playing, and the Nationals trying to find the right combo in the 9th inning. Soler grounds out to Valencia as we start the 5th. So we go to Detroit. 2 games in early June. We'll go to Cleveland. Actually, that'll be a fun one. Wrigley Field against the Indians at 15th and 16th. Then the following 2 days in Cleveland. So 4 in a row against the Indians. Then at Minnesota. You said that's Father's Day weekend?
Yeah, that's correct.
Inside for a ball.
June 19th, 20th, 21st.
Bouncer foul. We had a headset issue. JD, he's here. Don't worry, he's here. Are you here?
Am I here?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
We hear you now.
Hear me now? Yeah, it's disappeared there. Yes, we're in Minnesota for Father's Day.
Two and 1 to Castillo. Popped up and out of play. The month of August is interesting. Between August 6th and August 23rd, the Cubs will be in Chicago the whole time. They have 3 road games, but they'll be at the White Sox. That's a very advantageous month of August. Down the right field line. And Lynn reaches out, can't get it. Two on Castillo. Alt on deck. 2-0 Blue Jays.
Stroman has faced the minimum. He's allowed 1 base runner. It was a leadoff single to Jorge Soler in the 2nd inning. Then he got a double play ball off the bat of Wellington Castillo. This kid has been in complete control of this ball game.
Line shot right center and caught by Ghost. Step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Back here at Rogers Center, downtown Toronto. Cubs and Jays. First of 3. Mike Alt bounces towards second. Goins will get him, and Stroman continuing to cruise along, leading by 2.
Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds.
Neil Young with Pearl Jam downtown. 2-0 for the home team. Cubs with 1 hit. Very little action so far against Marcus Stroman. He's only had to make 53 pitches through his 5 innings as Turner deals a strike on Pilar, the left fielder.
Yeah, it feels like more of a one-sided game because the Jays have scored 2. They have 4 hits, a walk, but a lot of hard outs. But it's just 2-run ball game. Very much a winnable ball game if the Cubs can figure out Stroman here a little bit.
Here's the 0-2 from Turner. Slider misses outside.
Pilar, an interesting case. He was a 32nd round pick out of a Division II school in California. Got a $1,000 signing bonus. Those guys generally don't get to the big leagues. 3-sport star in high school, all league and everything.
Pilar made headlines with a 54-game hitting streak while in college.
Cal State Dominguez Hills. And a real nice year this year down at AAA. AAA Buffalo, he hit .323. Led the league in doubles, 3rd in batting average, 3rd in extra base hits. As we mentioned, with Melky Cabrera on the DL, he's going to get a chance to show what he can do here.
Foul tip for strike 3. The second strikeout for Turner. And it will bring up Goins, the second baseman.
Yeah, really finished that one. Great look at his deliveries. He got through that sinker, 93 miles an hour, sinking down below the knees to get the swing and miss from Pilar.
Goins bounced into a double play. Originally was called safe at first, but they went to the replay. Cubs challenged and got it overturned. 2-0. Here's a pitch outside. So the Cubs swept Milwaukee last week, then got swept by the Pirates, so they're trying to end a 3-game skid. Final series against the American League. 9-8 so far versus the East plus the White Sox. Line the other way for a base hit. During the last homestand of the year, the Cubs will host Big Ten Rivalry Week at Wrigley Field. Support your Big Ten school with a special Cubs shirt featuring your school colors. The schools with the most supporters will not only walk away with bragging rights, they'll also get access to a special recognition at Wrigley Field. To find out when your alma mater faces off, visit Cubs.com/special events. I know Lemoyne is not in the Big Ten, but school colors?
Green and gold. And when I was there, we had a big L on our jersey like Laverne. From Laverne and
really? That ball hit hard. Goes with a hit to center, and that'll send Goins around to third. So 8 and 9 teaming up here in the 5th inning.
That Ghost hit the ball very well last time to left field. Chris Coughlin took away an extra base hit from him. Here's a fastball up above the knees, outer third, just lashed into center field. Alcantara hustling over to cut it off. And he can't hesitate on this turf.
And they'll bring up Reyes. Lake in at third. Alt holding on Ghost at first. He's got a pretty good lead over there. And Turner will throw over. Reyes has led the majors in triples 3 different times. 115 three-base hits in his career. He led the National League in stolen bases 3 straight years, but the last time was 2007. When he stole 78.
Well, goes after the pickoff attempt, a little more daring with his lead, a little further out onto the turf with that lead foot.
Reyes won the batting title in 2011, 337 to lead the NL. That was his final year as a Met. A little argument here going on.
You know, Turner looked in, asked where it was. Somebody chirped from the Cubs dugout. Barber saying it wasn't down, it was out.
Swing and a miss.
Changeup, maybe his best tonight. Yeah, because from the dugout they can see up and down. They can't see in and out. So typically what happens is somebody will yell, "That ball's not down," and then Barber responded with, "It's not down, it's out." And then we play on. Ricky working that gum a little faster here. Down 2, runners on first and third. Knows this is a big situation.
So you remember the end of 2011, and Jose Reyes picked up a hit in the first inning in a game against Cincinnati, and then Terry Collins pulled him out of the game. I guess Reyes had basically said, "If I get a hit, I want you to take me out." Remember, some of the fans booed because they were thinking that was the last time they were going to see Reyes as a Met. Do you recall any of this? Yeah, it was a little controversial. Ryan Braun went 0 for 4, so he finished 332. Reyes hit 337. But because he was in New York, I think it got
sure
much bigger play.
Did people accuse him of ducking for coming out of the game? Didn't do a Ted Williams and stay in there? These fans are really taking umbrage at Turner throwing over to first base, by the way.
In the air. Goins ready to tag. Conklin makes the catch, and he's going to hold, but Ghost will take second.
Yeah, that throw should have gone to second base. Although, I don't know. I'm surprised Goins didn't try to score on that ball. Wasn't particularly deep, but Coghlan was drifting towards center field.
Now, so just to follow up, I think a lot of Mets fans just wanted to see Reyes play a full game. He told his manager, "If I go 1 for 1, take me out." Collins then after basically said, "Look, he's my guy, he's my player. I understand how fans are frustrated, but you're not in the dugout, making decisions I have to make." So, it was kind of a big deal in New York. I remember when it happened. It's very typical New York. You win a batting title, and all people talk about is you coming out of the game early. Strike called on Bautista. 1-1.
Jacob Turner is walking the tightrope here tonight, isn't
he? Yeah, they're still in it. Only a 2-run game, as you mentioned. It hasn't felt that way necessarily.
A couple deep drives run down, a line out double play to end last inning.
Good to see Cito Gaston. 2 stints as the Blue Jays manager, including those World Series years. In the early 90s, he's sitting with the president and CEO of the Blue Jays And Rogers center Paul Beeston. They've got a lot of former Blue Jays in their front office. Roberto Alomar is a special assistant. So is Pat Henkin, George Bell, Cito Gaston, Paul Quantrill, Fred McGriff are consultants. Bautista crushes one for a 3-run homer. Well, Turner had been keeping his team in the game, but now it's 5-0.
I think he just fell off the tightrope. Been kind of teetering on the edge all night here. A lot of hard contact. Just kind of an inconsistent night for him. He's made some really good pitches, and then he's made some mistakes. He's gotten away with a few mistakes, but he did not get away with that one. Center cut breaking ball, and Bautista unloads on it.
Interesting, we just showed you Cito Gaston. He worked a lot with Jose Bautista when he got here to Toronto on his swing. And yeah, all smiles right now in the executives box.
Paul Beeston has been with the Blue Jays every step of the way. He was their very first employee. Alex Anthopoulos, currently the general manager, the guy charged with making all the personnel decisions. He took some heat from Jose Bautista, among others, when the Blue Jays did not really assert themselves at the trade deadline. They were on Samardzija. They had a lot of people watching Jeff going back to September of last year. 8, 9, 10 different scouts came through town watching Jeff Samardzija. I suspect if those, I'm not sure how far those talks got, but Cubs probably inquired about the kid pitching tonight, Stroman. Alex Sanchez, another top pitching prospect, who's currently working out of their bullpen. Couple big arms the Jays didn't want to part with.
Ground ball to Valleca. And that'll end the inning with a 3-run shot by Joey Bats. 5-0 Jays. Time for our Honda Games summary. Cubs' first game on artificial turf since 2008, and they have been handcuffed offensively by Marcus Stroman. Jose Bautista with a 3-run homer. He's hit 8 in his last dozen games. Start something special with great leases and low financing. On a new Honda, visit shophonda.com or go to your local Honda dealer. At Travers. As Alcantara bounces to Reyes. Ooh, got him. It was close. Less than a half a step. No argument from Eric Hinsky, the first base coach.
homecoming of sorts for Eric Hinske here in Toronto.
Yeah.
He was a Rookie of the Year playing for the Jays back in 2002. 24 home runs, drove in 84. Spent 3 or 4 years here in Toronto before bouncing around. Played for every American League East team except for the Baltimore Orioles.
Well, there you see one of those uniforms that they used in the interim. They got it right the first time. Did you read my Daily Herald column about uniforms earlier this year?
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah.
It was about that very thing.
Yeah, that usually.
A little issue with the lights maybe for Pilar as he gets Watkins. Yeah, I mean, the Brewers didn't get it right off the bat, 1970, but about 1978, the ball in the glove, I thought they nailed it. The Blue Jays, I thought, got it right when they started. The other one for me, I don't know how you feel about this. Road gray is rather ubiquitous, but if you go back to the 70s and 80s, a lot of teams had light blue for the road uniforms. And to me, the George Brett Kansas City Royals road uniform, now that works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if your team name is the Royals,
but
the Blue Jays could do that.
But I wonder too, if a team is wearing a certain uniform and has success, and you kind of see it and you associate that team with that uniform, you kind of want to, that's what appeals to you, that's who they were, that's how you, that's the Blue Jay club I remember.
Yes, that's part of it. Marcus Stroman is giving us very little time to discuss these important issues.
This dude
is mowing them down.
Nothing now. We head to the bottom half of the 6th. We get into the holiday spirit a little early and support Cubs charities by being part of our holiday tradition. Purchase your limited edition Chicago Cubs Christopher Radko glass ornament. Ornaments are $60. All proceeds will benefit Cubs charities. Visit Cubs.com/ornament for more information.
Lind bounces. Vallecas had a busy night. He makes the play. We'll have to condense our stories tomorrow night with Mark Burley out there. But Watching Mark Burley stare at the second base umpire between innings. I'm ready. But we're not back from commercial break, Mark. Strike called on Navarro.
See that change up a little bit. Pirates, who just swept the Cubs, are in Philadelphia tonight. They have a 2-1 lead in the top of the fifth. Starling Marte has hit a home run, his 11th.
Did you check if Harrison's playing tonight?
I did not, but I will.
Crushed. Foul. He missed the foul mesh by about 30 feet. I call it mesh. It's not really a pole. It's a net, a foul net.
Mm-hmm.
They can catch some good shrimp out there, depending on the time of year.
It's out in front a little bit of that fastball.
No Josh Harrison.
Nope, not in there.
Okay.
Jeff Locke, Kyle Kendrick, the pitchers in that one.
Now some finals from earlier today. Big win for Detroit, 9-5 over the Royals. Comerica Park. They're within one now of Kansas City. Justin Verlander improved to 13-12. A lot of decisions for him this year. He's been very decisive as Watkins throws out Navarro. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Rogers Center in Toronto. Used to call it Sky Dome.
Sky Dome, had kind of a James Bond sound to it. I like Sky Dome better. Didn't they call it Rogers Sky Dome?
Probably. The problem with calling it Sky Dome is the Sky didn't pay any royalties.
Well, let's
name that. Hey, you up there, give us some money. And we'll go to Rogers instead.
Rogers Sky Dome.
Well, the owner of the team is Rogers Communications Inc. That's what you call synergy.
How was the ballpark in Cincinnati?
Dan Straley up in the Cubs bullpen. High fly to left off the bat of Valencia. This will be a quick inning for Turner. To the seventh. All Blue Jays 5-0. for our WGN Cubs fan cam. Power pop band from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Sloan. That's a good live band you should check out, JD.
I don't know how we get the shots of the people dancing to our fan cam song, because sometimes they're in perfect rhythm with the music.
We're very powerful. Stroman has been really impressive. He's already ahead of Coughlin, 0-2.
.5'9". He's one of 6 pitchers under 5'10" to make a start in Major League Baseball this century. He's one of those guys, because of his stature, a lot of scouts would be scared off. They say, yeah, he throws real hard, but he's a little guy. We just don't know how well he's going to hold up. Maybe he'll be a reliever. Might not have the stamina. Doesn't have the leverage of a big, tall guy, but I would say let him pitch. Turn him loose, see what he can do. The heck of an athlete. Obviously has a very good arm. He's got the pitches.
Working well with Navarro tonight, and Coughlin strikes out.
Especially in this era, too, there's so many good arms in baseball now. You can find plenty of 96-mile-an-hour fastballs to put in your bullpen. But if you've got a guy who's got the mix of pitches, a good off-speed pitch, a good breaking ball to go with that lively arm, and you can get him through a line 3 or 4 times, that is so valuable. You know, I would keep running him out there as a starter until he failed.
Baez with 1 out, and he hits a chopper to Reyes.
Catch all the second half action on MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Visit Cubs.com for details.
And Luis Valbuena, with a 7-game hitting streak coming in, he's 0 for 2. He's a DH tonight. He spent spring training with the Jays in 2012. Hit 163 in 24 games. The Cubs then got him off waivers on April 4th, right before the season opener. Well, after rosters had been set, the whole deal, but a nice pickup by the Cubs. It was under the radar at the time. I remember he lined up along the third base line at Wrigley Field as they announced all the players on opening day. We went, oh, okay, there's a guy we haven't seen before. One pitch is in the dirt.
Wow, look at those pitch counts.
Ground ball to first. Spets time here in Toronto. Sloan Vegas to break 5-0. season tickets to the Blue Jays from Rush. Blue Jays lead the Cubs 5-0, out hitting them 7-1. The only hit for the visitors, a Jorge Soler leadoff single in the second inning. And that's the last base runner and the only time the Cubs have had somebody on, and he was quickly erased on a double play ball.
And here comes Straley Dan. 3-5 of the 409. Saw his numbers at Iowa. He's pitched a couple times with the Cubs. Made a spot start against the Mets back on August 16th. Allowed 5 earned runs and 5 1/3. Actually thought he pitched better than that on that occasion. And relief outing a couple days ago.
Fly to very deep center. Alcantara will have to play that one off the wall in the turf. Pilar has a standing double.
The Jays continue to apply pressure. Pilar's first hit of the game. He hit the ball deep to left field first time up, but it was run down by Coughlin. Trying to go down and away and had a leak back out over the plate. That was Jacob Turner's problem tonight. Just wasn't locating. Australia over from the A's in the Samardzija Hamill deal. Was a 10-game winner with the A's last year.
Ground ball to the right side. That'll get Pilar to third, and Jones is safe. Pilar on his way to the plate. He'll score. Now Baez is going to tag out Goins, and he will be called safe. Apparently did not make a move towards second. Baez thought he did, and Ricky thought he did too. That's a heads-up play by Baez.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we can look at it in replay and be an error. Ray's going to go out and talk to Jerry Lane, and Logan Watkins is having all kinds of problems on the turf here this evening. It's just taking him out of his rhythm. Bounce he did not anticipate. Speedy guy going down the line, tries to hurry the throw. No play there. Baez thought he saw a start towards second base.
And it doesn't have to be much other than any sort of action that. Oh, yeah, I think he did. I think that shuffle step is all you need.
I don't know. Is this reviewable?
No, Jerry Lane just looked into the dugout and kind of put his hands up as if to say nobody saw it, Ricky.
Yeah.
See, you can turn toward the inside to go back to first. You can't make any move towards second. Now, I think that shuffle step is all it really takes, and I think Baez saw that, and
yeah,
rightly
that's
so.
what he's reacting to. Yeah,
right there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I think that's all you need.
That's tough, man. I don't know.
You got the rule book, right? I mean, I don't know if it specifically states it, but I'm pretty convinced if they had seen that, they would have called him out.
I think there's wiggle room there for the umpires. I think it's in their judgment whether the guy makes any kind of an attempt to go to the next base.
Again, it doesn't matter which direction you turn. It's whether you give any sort of impression that you're trying to go to the next base. At any rate, an unearned run, at least for now, and 6-0 as Ghost fouls. It's 0-2 on him. That is a unique base in that regard. Base runners can run through the bag and not be tagged out once they pass first, as the catch is made by Castillo in foul territory. Like, you can't run past second like that and then head back to the bag without being in danger of being tagged. The first out of the inning. Pitch to Reyes, misses outside. Don't look too long. Just you see it, you see it.
Yeah,
If you don't, you don't.
I'm closing in on it. I'm in the runner section. I'm in 708. I'm zeroing in on it.
Now the question is, what constitutes an attempt towards second? The line on Turner: 6 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned.
Rule 708, paragraph J.
Reyes, base hit, right field. Goins will stop at second.
Jay's starting to pile up the hits like the Pirates did yesterday. The Pirates had 19 in the ballgame yesterday. Anyway, paragraph J says something about the runner. He fails to return at once to first base after over sliding that base. If he attempts to run to second, he is out when tagged. That comment, it doesn't really specify the degree to which he has to attempt to run towards second base. Although, failing to return at once to first base.
To me, the pause and the little stutter step should constitute an attempt at second. And I don't think, and Jerry Lane again, the way he looked into the Cub dugout was as if to say nobody saw it, as opposed to we saw it and we didn't think he was trying to make a move. We'll get to the bottom of it after the game.
Yeah, and I think it's mostly a judgment call, even if they do see it, and it's just that umpire's interpretation.
Big hit of the game, the 3-run homer by Bautista in the 5th. And that was a milestone home run. His 200th as a Blue Jay. He pops it up, foul ground. This one caught by Castillo. So Bautista is the 5th Toronto Blue Jay ever with 200 home runs in a Jays uniform. Can you name the first 4 to get to 200?
George Bell.
Yes, he's 4th on the list with 202. Touch 'em all.
To Joe
Carter hit 203.
Okay. Lloyd Mosby didn't.
No.
Alomar didn't. Carlos Delgado did.
Yeah, he's the all-time leader, 336. Vernon Wells, the other, 223. Those are your top 5 home run hitters in Blue Jays history.
Delgado won.
Delgado, Wells, Carter, Bell, Bautista. Bell hit 202 in 9 seasons. Delgado 336 in 12 years.
Yeah, he's that other. We were talking about that lineup they had back in the day. Can't forget about Delgado.
Two on, 2 down, and 0-2 on Encarnacion. Here it is. Drives that ball to the right center, and it's caught by Soler. Boy, have they hit some balls hard tonight. 6-0 after 7. brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Ford, manufacturers of America's best-selling brand. Check out our best-selling lineup at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Marcus Stroman's on pace for the Maddox. He hasn't given up a run, and he's made under 70 pitches. First pitch strike on Soler, who has the only hit.
A sub 100 complete game, is that a Maddox?
Shutout.
Well, it's got to be a shutout.
Yep. He has faced the minimum through 7. Toward the hole, Reyes sets, throws, and gets Soler.
Been many balls hit to the outfield against him. A lot of ground ball outs. 6 punch outs.
It was, I believe, Jason Lukehart who created the Maddox in 2012. And it has caught on. He has career Maddox leaders. The all-time leader is Greg Maddux. 13 such performances. Complete game shutout, fewer than 100 pitches. 1 strike on Castillo, and he went. That's Jerry Lane.
I don't know, Jerry. I'm not so sure I agree with that one. Well, could have been. Pretty nasty curveball he's got. So, barring an unbelievable run here for the Blue Jays, they likely will finish out of the wild card. They still have a fighting chance. So, ultimately, it'll be a disappointing season here in Toronto. There are high expectations.
Backhanded, Reyes.
One of the better strong balls in that by the Cubs. But, you know, the future looks pretty good with these young arms. How many of the guys in the bullpen we'll get to see in this series? Sanchez, I keep hearing rave reviews about him.
Last year was a huge disappointment, one of the biggest in baseball. They made that big deal with Miami. Payroll skyrocketed last season, and they went 74 and 88. So this is kind of a little bit closer to what I think people thought they were going to see last season.
Probably feel like a little bit of a missed opportunity this year in that the Red Sox are down, and the Yankees are still in the hunt, but they're not a typical Yankee team.
Broken bat, base hit to right for Olt. So Stroman will not have one of those 27 batter complete games, most likely, unless Olt gets picked off, which I can't imagine he would. Down 6.
Little half swing, broken bat, but it ends well for Olt. Didn't mean to swing, and he got a base hit out of it.
Maybe his luck is changing after the 3 hits and a walk yesterday. Able to clear his mind a bit back at AAA. Alcantara is 0 for 2. And that's a strike. This has just been a clinic by Stroman tonight. If you're wondering about the first hit, the Soler hit, it was as legit as it gets. He hit it really hard back up the middle into center. The Olt one is the kind of hit, if it had broken up and no hitter with 2 outs in the 8th, everyone would have thought, oh no, here in Toronto.
Like the Kerry Wood one hitter?
Yeah. 2-2 the count. So he's retired 20 of his last 21 batters now. Drake to brace. 6-0 Toronto. I want this shit forever, mine, ever mine, ever mine. Shut this shit down. Dominating pitching performance by starter Marcus Stroman.
You know what else is interesting about this game?
What is that?
The Jays have exactly 9 hits. Every single guy in their lineup has 1.
It has been a team effort.
Nobody's hogging the ball, stealing the glory. Well, that guy's stealing the glory.
Adam Lind on the DL twice this year, so he's been limited to just 80 games. This is his 81st. From Anderson, Indiana. And a deep drive to left. Coughlin can't make the play right off the top of the wall. And it's a double.
So much for the 1-hit per man theory. That's how the 7th inning started with a leadoff double. It was Pilar. He ultimately scored. Now the big fella Adam Lind pushes Coughlin to the wall. Boy, Chris Coughlin got to be getting pretty familiar with that wall out there and left.
About 114 meters out there. Lind will be removed for a pinch runner. Steve Tollison. Ace of MLB Stats. Good follow on Twitter at AceBallStats. Just tweeted the following. Ready? Sandy Koufax over his best 68 game stretch. at a 1.76 ERA. Clayton Kershaw over his last 68 starts, 1.74.
And what was Koufax?
1.76.
Yeah.
Over his best 68 game stretch in his entire career.
In a tougher run scoring environment, too.
That I find really interesting.
Well, we talked about it when we were in Dodger Stadium, how anytime somebody brings up the comparison to Koufax with Kershaw, there's this, especially the old timers, there's this knee-jerk reaction. Oh, you can't compare anybody to Sandy Koufax. Well,
yes, we can. Yes, we can. With all due respect. Tells you how great Kershaw is. Navarro will get Tolleson to the plate. The honor against his former team is knocked in 2 tonight. It's 7-0.
That's a good hitter's ballpark. The ball carries well here, and because of the turf, the ball shoots through the infield, and the ball gets in the gaps and down the lines and into the corners and all that stuff more quickly here than it does in a natural grass field. But aside from that, it's just been a lot of really good swings by the Blue Jay hitters, taking full advantage of Turner in Australia, their struggles to locate.
Curve strike on Valencia. I have to be careful how I say it. The guys who faced Koufax didn't have to face Kershaw. Right? So you could say, well, Koufax was the toughest guy I ever faced. Then that is probably 100% correct.
Sure.
But you can't then say, I don't care how great Clayton Kershaw is, he'll never be as good as Koufax. The great thing about our sport is that we can actually compare eras now really well. Valencia strikes out. And Kershaw, in a lot of ways, still getting started.
How old's Kershaw? Like 27?
I don't think he's that
even
old.
that. See, and the other thing that with Koufax,
26.
The other thing with Sandy Koufax is because of the arm injuries, all the pain he was pitching through, his career ended early. So he never went through that period where he was a diminished. He was a star. That 5-year period where he was just unbelievably good, and then he was done. So it's kind of like that's all anybody remembers about Sandy Koufax. They don't remember the rising action. They don't remember the falling action because there wasn't any.
Pilar takes one in the left center. And Navarro will race home.
Well, you can't throw in the towel in baseball. You got to play them all. But pretty dominant performance by the Jays here this evening in every facet.
Well, what this huge lead has allowed John Gibbons to do is not only give Stroman a chance to complete it, but he's got a lot of wiggle room. He's only made 82 pitches. Even if he, loads the bases in the top of the ninth, he still might try to let him work out of it. We'll see. Fouled away by Goins. With a young arm this late in the season, you might be more apt to get him out early, but the way he's gone tonight, I don't know.
Yeah. It's been so easy for him. Stress-free. So few pitches.
He has averaged 3 misses per inning, 24 balls in 8 innings of work. He's probably hoping his offense ends this inning fairly soon. It's been a long half inning.
Yeah, he's anxious to get back out there and finish it. He's on a roll. He's had a great rhythm all night long. He doesn't need any more runs. If this were roller derby, he'd be telling those guys to cut off the jam. It's good. Cut off the jam. Let me go.
Is that the term?
Yeah, that's when I think they put their hands on their hips like they're
right. Okay.
Cutting off the jam.
Yeah.
It's the end of the scoring cycle or whatever it is.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. 2 away.
Good tight breaking ball by Straley. Second strikeout of the inning.
Well, the pitching change, it looks like, here in the 8th. Zach Rosscup coming on when we come back. Fastball at 94.
Yeah, well placed too. Rosscup has struggled with his control. He's walked 5 in his last 2 outings. One of those a disastrous 6-run outing against the Cardinals back on August 30th. So I think this is just an opportunity to Ricky get him in there. He only needs to get 1 out. He's got a left-handed hitter up and working down in the bullpen, trying to polish some things up mechanically.
This is where you want to see him end it. He's at a pension of getting ahead of hitters and then not finishing the deal. In the dirt, 2-2. I like what you say a lot about like this sort of spot. You're brought in to get this guy out, not work around him.
Right, and you can't, when he's got good enough stuff. Some guys have to nibble and pitch away from contact. He's not one of those guys. He's got good enough stuff. There you go.
Yeah, right down the middle. 4 strike, 3 swinging. We go to the 9th. Stroman back to work after a fairly long layoff here in the 8th. Play first here in the 9th. Marcus Stroman in his 23rd Major League appearance and his 18th start looks for a complete game shutout. Watkins, Valaika, Coghlan. First pitch swinging. Stroman will flip. That goes 1-3. 83 pitches in. He's 2 outs away. That's his 59th strike.
You get the feeling he could go about 14 shutout innings here tonight. He went 9 innings once this year. Got a no decision in a game that ultimately went 10.
Very rare these days when you don't see anybody up in a bullpen for an entire night, and that has been the case here for the Blue Jays. Ground ball into center.
He went 8 innings back on June 23rd in beating the Yankees and became the first Toronto rookie since Henderson Alvarez in 2011 to work 8+ innings. Not sure when the last rookie to throw a complete game was. Complete games are pretty rare these days.
Coghlan 0 for 3. Cubs now with 3 hits. Soler, Holt, Valaika. Nobody has reached scoring position. Valencia plays behind the runner at first. Outside on Coghlan.
Blue Jays have 2 complete games this year. R.A. Dickey, the knuckleballer, has 1. Drew Hutchison, the other.
Very late swing there by Coghlan. Munenori Kawasaki there on the left. I don't know if we'll see him actually play in this series. Man, is he fun. He's come up with some big hits for the Blue Jays the last couple of years, and some of his post-game interviews. Legendary. One and two. Swing and miss, strike three, 2 outs. 8 punch outs for Stroman.
A lot of swings and misses at that breaking ball. Starts in the zone and breaks well down below the knees, but it's such tight spin, it's hard for the hitters to pick it up.
Foul. Well, pop up that's going to bounce. Oh, a right-handed play. Oh, my goodness.
Look at Stroman.
Goins just made a play that you're going to see several more times here in the next.
You don't get that out anywhere but on Astro turf.
Wow.
His broken bat inside out swing ball had all kinds of side spin, and watch it take this funky hop back in the other direction, and Goins is very clever. He has not made an error yet at the big league level this year. A nice exclamation point to an unbelievable performance by Marcus Stroman.
A 93 pitch complete game, 3-hit shutout. He faced 2 over the minimum.